From my earliest memories, I knew I was a disappointment. My parents never said it outright, but they didn't have to. Their expressions told me enough, especially after my sister Kate arrived 3 years later. I was Jenna, their firstborn daughter, and I would never quite measure up to their hopes for a son. I once overheard my mom telling my dad, maybe the next one will be a boy, after Kate's birth. But due to complications, there wasn't going to be a next one. Their dream of having a son faded, and they shifted their hope toward the possibility of grandsons someday. Growing up, I watched Kate charm our parents effortlessly. She had a knack for it, flashing those big brown eyes to get whatever she wanted, while I learned to rely on myself. I knew I had everything I needed: clothes, food, a roof over my head, and an education. But emotional warmth was always scarce, at least for me. I gradually accepted this, building my own sense of self-reliance. In high school, I announced over dinner, I'm going to study economics. Mom and Dad exchanged glances. Are you sure, honey? Mom asked hesitantly. What about something more suitable for a young lady, like teaching or nursing? Despite their objections, I held firm, already having secured a partial scholarship to State University. My resolve only seemed to confirm their disappointment, and as usual, they barely hid it. Meanwhile, Kate's announcement that she wanted to study psychology was met with immediate enthusiasm. You've always been so good with people, Mom beamed. I'd learned long ago that their approval wasn't something I'd win, so I focused on my future, looking forward to the independence college would bring. During my sophomore year, I met James, a senior in the economics department. We literally bumped into each other in the library, where he noticed me from class. You're the one always asking the smart questions, he said, smiling as he picked up my fallen textbook. Surprised to be noticed in a positive way, I accepted his invitation for coffee. That coffee date turned into dinners, movie nights, and eventually a relationship that made me feel truly seen and appreciated. After he graduated, James landed a job at Anderson Consulting. He waited for me to finish my degree, and once I did, we moved in together. During his first visit to my parents' house, they immediately warmed up to him, doting on him and hanging on to his every word. I couldn't help but notice the stark difference in their reaction to him compared to me. They finally had the son they always wanted, if only through marriage. A year later, James proposed, and I accepted without hesitation. Despite my parents pushing for an elaborate wedding, we chose a small, intimate ceremony that felt right for us. Afterward, the questions about starting a family began almost immediately. I repeatedly explained that we wanted to save for a house first, to be financially stable. 2 years later, we bought our first home. It was modest, but it was ours. And just 3 months later, Kate announced she was pregnant. Her boyfriend Mark left as soon as she started showing, but my parents rallied around her, transforming their house into a nursery and preparing to help raise their first grandchild, Emily. My parents adored Emily, and watching them fawn over her only increased the pressure on James and me to start our own family. James was wonderful with Emily, and seeing him play with her made my heart ache with a new desire for children. We started trying, but month after month, nothing happened. After a year, my mom urged me to see a doctor, even forwarding me contacts for fertility specialists. I finally made an appointment, with James by my side. When the doctor confirmed that I was infertile, the words hit me like a blow. James was supportive, suggesting adoption or treatments, but the news weighed heavily on me. At our next family dinner, I decided to confront it head-on. Taking a deep breath, I spoke up. Mom, Dad, I need to tell you something. I can't have children. I'm infertile. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's face twisted with disgust. Infertile, she spat as though the word was poisonous. What kind of woman can't do the one thing she's meant to do? My father wouldn't even look at me. An empty vessel, he muttered. Just a barren flower. My sister Kate smirked, bouncing her daughter Emily on her knee. Guess we know who the real woman in the family is. Desperate, I looked at my husband James for support, but he just stared at his plate. Tears burned hotly in my eyes, and I pushed back from the table, running out of the house, ignoring their calls. After that night, I couldn't bring myself to go back, though James continued visiting. He'd come home full of stories. Emily learned a new song today, he'd say. You should have seen her dancing around the living room. Or, Kate made this amazing lasagna. Each word felt like a knife to my heart. Lying awake at night, listening to James breathe beside me, I wondered if he resented me. The guilt gnawed at me every time he returned from another visit to my parents' house, his eyes wistful after spending time with Emily. It was a regular Tuesday when my world fell apart. I came home early with takeout, James's favorite, but the house was empty and dark. His car wasn't in the driveway. A bad feeling twisted in my stomach, and when I called his cell, it went straight to voicemail. Then my phone buzzed. A notification from Instagram. Kate had posted a new photo. I almost ignored it but clicked anyway. My stomach dropped as the image loaded. James on my parents' couch, with Emily in his lap and Kate pressed against his side, all three grinning. The caption read, "Family time with my favorite people." My hands shook as I grabbed my keys and drove to my parents' house, my mind racing. The driveway was full, Mom's car, Dad's truck, and James's sat in. The front door was unlocked, and as I slipped inside, my heart pounded in my chest. Voices drifted from the living room. "James, you know we already think of you as a son," my mother was saying. "You deserve to be happy. And you've been so wonderful with Emily," my father added. "And Kate, she's young, fertile. You could have more children together. Why stay trapped in a marriage with—" Mom's voice dropped, but I still heard the disgust. "A barren woman." I couldn't breathe. I stumbled into the room, making them all jump. My parents and sister sat on the couch, James in Dad's armchair, Emily playing on the floor. One big happy family, plotting to push me out. What the hell is going on here? My voice was shaky but strong. James looked ashamed, but my parents met my gaze defiantly. Mom stood up, her chin high. "We're just having an honest discussion about what's best for everyone." "Best for everyone," I echoed, voice trembling. "You're trying to convince my husband to leave me for my sister." "Someone has to think about his future," Dad snapped. "You can't give him what he wants, what he deserves. Kate can." I turned to James, waiting for him to defend us, to say they were wrong, but he stared at the floor. "James," I whispered, my voice cracking. He finally looked up. "I'm sorry, Jenna," he said quietly, "but they're right. I want children, a family. And I've developed feelings for Kate." Kate smirked, resting her hand on James's arm. "Get out," she sneered. "You don't belong here anymore. This is my family now." I stared at each of their faces. My father's stern disapproval, my mother's cold satisfaction, Kate's triumphant smile, and James's guilty avoidance. 4 years of marriage, a lifetime of family ties shattered. Without another word, I turned and left. The divorce was quick and cold. We split everything down the middle, and I moved into a small apartment across town, throwing myself into my work, trying to forget. But social media had other plans. One morning, my coworker gasped at her phone. "Oh my God, Jenna, I'm so sorry. I forgot to unfollow your sister." She tried to hide her screen, but I'd already seen it. Kate in a massive white dress, James in a tux, my parents beaming beside them. "It's fine," I said, even though it wasn't. A year later, another announcement popped up. "Welcome, baby Rose." My replacement had provided the daughter they'd always wanted, giving James his perfect little family. I deleted all my social media accounts that day. Life, however, has a funny way of surprising you. I was grocery shopping one Saturday when my cart collided with someone else's. "I'm so sorry," a deep voice said. I looked up into the kindest brown eyes I'd ever seen. "I'm Michael," he introduced himself, helping me gather my items. "Can I buy you a coffee to apologize?" One coffee turned into dinner, then dating, and suddenly, I was falling in love again. This time, I was honest from the start. 6 months into our relationship, one quiet evening, I took a deep breath. "I need to tell you something." I had come to terms with the fact that I couldn't have children. I was infertile. When I told Michael, he took my hands, his eyes full of love. "Jenna, I love you. If we want kids someday, we'll adopt, or we won't. I just want you." We married in a small, intimate ceremony at the courthouse with just a few close friends. No family drama, no extravagant expectations, just love. A year into our marriage, I began feeling strange, waking up nauseous and getting dizzy at odd times. Michael insisted I see a doctor. "Mrs. Chen," the doctor said, looking at my test results, "congratulations, you're pregnant." I stared at her. "That's impossible. I'm infertile. I have the tests to prove it." She smiled kindly. "The human body is mysterious. Sometimes, despite all odds, pregnancy happens, even in cases diagnosed as infertility. It's rare, but it happens." Michael and I cried together that night, tears of joy, disbelief, and hope. I kept the news from my family. They had lost the right to share in my happiness long ago. 9 months later, I held my son, a perfect 7 pounds, 6 ounces. We named him Alexander, defender of mankind. Looking at his tiny face, I felt nothing but pure love. No bitterness, no regret, no anger. Life settled into a beautiful rhythm. Alexander grew, and Michael was a perfect father. We rarely ate out, savoring family dinners at home. But one evening, when Michael got a promotion, we decided to celebrate at a downtown French restaurant, Lamb Zone. That's when I saw her, Kate, my sister, in a corner booth, wrapped in the arms of a man who was definitely not her husband. She was caressing his hair, kissing him deeply, oblivious to the world around her. My hand shook as I discreetly snapped a few photos. "Jenna," Michael said, touching my arm, "you look pale. Are you okay?" I showed him the photos. "That's Kate with someone who isn't her husband." Michael's jaw tightened. He knew our history, how Kate and her husband James had hurt me deeply. "Are you going to send those to him?" he asked gently. I hovered over the send button. One click, and I could turn their world upside down just as they'd done to mine. But I finally saved the photos to a secure folder. No, I'm better than that. A year passed, and Alexander was blossoming with Michael's kind eyes and my stubborn chin. One day, while visiting a friend in my old neighborhood, we decided to take Alexander to a nearby park. As we rounded a corner, we ran into them, my parents, Kate, and James. They saw us, and their faces turned cold as if they wanted to pretend we were strangers. But then they noticed Alexander, who was babbling about the toy truck he'd brought to the park. Mom stopped dead in her tracks. Who is this?" she asked. "This is my son, Alexander," I replied calmly. Kate let out a laugh. "Oh, please, we all know you can't have children. What agency did you adopt him from?" I held her gaze, savoring the moment. "I gave birth to him 3 years ago. No adoption agency involved." "That's impossible," Mom sputtered. "The doctors were wrong," I said evenly. "Sometimes, rare as it is, things happen." My dad's eyes filled with emotion. "A grandson? We have a grandson." They moved toward Alexander, arms outstretched, but I stepped protectively in front of him. "No," I said firmly. "You don't get to claim him as your grandson. You threw me away. You lost that privilege." Kate's face turned red. She couldn't bear the shift in attention. "Get over yourself, Jenna," she snapped. "So, you managed to pop out one kid. Big deal. I still won. I have your husband, a real family, 2 beautiful daughters. Face it, you'll never be as good as me." My hand slipped to my phone. "Speaking of family, Kate, why don't you tell everyone about your friend from work?" James's face paled. "What is she talking about, Kate?" I pulled at the photos from the restaurant and held out my phone. "Here's your loving wife, dining with her friend. Most people don't kiss their friends like that." James' expression turned furious as he took the phone. My parents crowded around to see, their shock evident. "Who is he?" James demanded, his voice shaking. Kate stammered, He's just a friend." "Friends don't meet in dark corners and kiss like that," I observed coolly. "And they certainly don't have intimate dinners while their spouses are at home with the kids." The truth spilled out, and the scene devolved into chaos. Kate and James began shouting, my parents standing there in stunned silence. I took Alexander's hand. "Come on, sweetheart," I said softly. "Let's go home." We left them in the parking lot, their lives unraveling as my son chattered happily about the park. A month later, word reached me through the community grapevine. James had done his own tests after learning of Kate's infidelity. The results showed he was infertile, which meant Rose, the daughter Kate claimed as his, couldn't possibly be his. James left her, refusing to pay child support for either child. Kate moved back in with her parents, her life in ruins. They all tried to reach out to me, calls, emails, even showing up at our door. But I had moved on. "Please, Jenna," Mom begged through the door. "We made a terrible mistake. Let us be part of Alexander's life. He's our only grandson." "You should have thought of that before you called me an empty vessel," I replied. "Actions have consequences." Michael wrapped his arms around me later that night. "Family isn't about DNA," he said softly, watching Alexander play on the floor. "It's about love, respect, and loyalty. They showed you none of those things." He was right. My family was here, in this little home filled with laughter and joy, with my miracle son and my husband who loved me, whether I could have children or not. I had everything I needed. Sometimes the family you're born into is the family you're meant to have. Sometimes you have to build your own with people who choose you back. I chose Michael and he chose me. We chose Alexander and he chose us back with every smile, every word, and every step. That's what real family is. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.